What if I told you, no one truly cares? Not about your pain, not about your potential, not even about the silent battles you fight alone. And what if I told you, that's the best thing that could ever happen to you? Because this truth is your freedom. Because the moment you stop expecting others to understand, you begin to truly live. You stop explaining, stop performing, stop seeking approval, and start walking quietly, firmly, with an inner strength that cannot be shaken. This is the Stoic path. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek attention. It simply requires one thing: that you rise with discipline and integrity when no one's watching. And today, we'll walk through 12 Stoic lessons to help you build that kind of inner power step by step. Stoic Lesson 1. Your worth does not depend on applause. Let me ask you this. Would you still try if no one watched? Would you still write, still train, still live with integrity if no one ever said thank you? If the answer is no, then what you're chasing isn't self-respect, it's approval. And that's a dangerous game because applause is inconsistent, fleeting, and shallow. One day you'll be praised, the next, forgotten. One moment they'll cheer for you, the next they'll turn away. The Stoics knew this trap. That's why they taught, your worth must never be rented from the opinions of others. True self-respect is forged in silence. It's when you continue showing up, not because someone claps, but because you know it's the right thing to do. It's living in alignment with your own principles, especially when no one's watching. Like the sun, it doesn't ask to be seen. It simply rises quietly, consistently, powerfully. And still, it lights the entire world. The modern world tricks us into believing that visibility equals value, that likes, followers, or compliments are signs we matter. But the Stoic knows better. Worth is not measured in noise, it's measured in truth. So here's the real test. When no one's around to notice, will you still give your best? Will you still wake up early? Still speak with honesty? Still take care of your mind and soul, even if no one says a word? Because if you do, you've stepped onto the rare path. The path where dignity doesn't depend on being seen. It depends on being proud of who you are when no one is watching, when no one is listening, and when no one is clapping. Practice questions. Are you proud of how you showed up today, even if no one else noticed? That quiet pride, the kind that doesn't need applause, that's where your true power begins. Stoic Lesson 2. The subtle trap of seeking validation. From the moment we're young, we're taught to chase approval. A perfect score gets a gold star. A polite answer earns praise. A good photo gets likes. We grow older, but the pattern continues. We start dressing for compliments. We pick careers for applause. We shape our lives around what we think others will accept. But here's the problem. Validation is borrowed, and borrowed things can always be taken away. External approval is fragile. It depends on moods, perceptions, biases on people who are just as lost and uncertain as you are. And when your self-worth is tied to their recognition, you become a puppet in a theater you never chose to perform in. The Stoics understood this danger. They taught, freedom begins the moment you no longer need to be understood. That means you will be misunderstood. You will be judged. You may even be dismissed or mocked. But none of that changes your worth unless you allow it to. You don't need permission to walk your path. You don't need applause to move forward. And you don't need a crowd to validate your calling. In fact, the more you chase validation, the more you lose your authenticity. You dilute your voice, soften your truth, and start living someone else's life just to avoid disapproval. But when you stop performing, something shifts. You become grounded, calm, powerful. Because your actions no longer depend on being seen, they depend on being real. Reflection challenge. Write down 3 things you've been avoiding because you're afraid of being judged. Then, choose one. And do it quietly, boldly, without waiting for anyone to clap. This is how you begin to reclaim yourself. Not by shouting to be noticed, but by walking forward even when the world stays silent. Stoic Lesson 3. Focus only on what you can control. How much of your stress is about things you can't control? Traffic, gossip, someone else's opinion of you, a missed opportunity, a delay in success. We agonize over them, replay them, try to bend reality through worry. But no matter how much we obsess, it changes nothing. That's why the Stoics drew a hard line between two categories. What's within your control? What isn't? And your peace depends on knowing the difference. You can't control if someone texts you back, but you can control how you respond to their silence. You can't control if a door closes, but you can knock on a better one tomorrow morning. You can't control the storm, but you can control whether it enters your mind. Your domain is you, your thoughts, your choices, your standards, your reactions. And yet we give so much energy to the outside world, hoping to change it when we haven't yet mastered what's already ours. Imagine this. Two people face the same setback. One spirals into anger, blame, and helplessness. The other pauses and asks, "What can I do right now?" That's the power of Stoicism. That's the moment you reclaim your life. You become steady not because the world behaves, but because you do. You gain peace not from control, but from clarity. Even small moments matter. You can't control if your boss is irritable, but you can remain composed. You can't control the economy, but you can control your spending, your adaptability, your work ethic. This isn't weakness. It's precision, focus, strength in its most effective form. Today's Stoic practice. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that I cannot control? What am I avoiding that is actually within my power? Let go of the storm. Become the anchor, because when you stop fighting what you can't change, you gain mastery over what you can. And that is where your real power begins. Stoic Lesson 4. Live by your inner standards, not the crowd's approval. What will you do when the world praises what you don't believe in? What happens when the crowd moves in one direction, but your conscience quietly whispers, "This is not your path"? These moments define you, because sooner or later, you'll face a choice. Betray yourself for comfort or honor your truth in silence. The crowd is loud, but it's unstable. What's admired today is ridiculed tomorrow. What's right today may be forgotten by next week. If you build your life on public opinion, you'll live as a reflection, not a person. The Stoics warned us, the approval of the crowd is a weak foundation. Marcus Aurelius. Why? Because the crowd doesn't know your story. It doesn't care about your values, your struggles, your higher purpose. It rewards what is convenient, not what is correct. But when you live by your own code, when your standards are rooted in clarity, discipline, and integrity, something rare begins to happen. You become whole, unshakable. You no longer move because others move. You move because it's time. Think of a compass. It doesn't spin to match the wind. It points north always. That's how your inner standards should work. Not to impress, but to stay aligned. Let's make this real. You're in a workplace where cutting corners is rewarded. Do you follow the system or follow your conscience? Your friends mock others to bond. Do you stay silent or do you speak up? They seem like small moments, but they carve your identity. They tell the world who you are. More importantly, they tell you who you are. Reflection practice. If no one ever applauded your choices, would you still be proud of them? If your life was judged only by your own standards, would it pass the test? That's the kind of life Stoicism points us toward. Not the loud life, not the popular one, but the true one. And in a world obsessed with being seen, living in alignment with your inner truth is the most powerful rebellion of all. Stoic Lesson 5. Praise and criticism are the same trap. Let's say someone insults you. It ruins your mood. Now someone else praises you. Suddenly you feel powerful again. But here's the Stoic truth. If either one can control your peace, then neither one is harmless. Praise and criticism, they look like opposites, but they're actually two sides of the same coin. External judgment. They come from the outside. They reflect other people's biases, expectations, and moods, not your truth. If your self-worth rises with compliments and falls with criticism, then your confidence is still in someone else's hands. The Stoic doesn't ignore feedback, but they don't depend on it either. They remain centered, not numb, but unshaken. Epictetus warned, "If you look for outside approval, you have compromised your integrity." Why? Because every time you allow someone's opinion, good or bad, to define you, you give away a piece of your power. You become addicted to praise, afraid of criticism, and quietly enslaved to noise. Let's get practical. You spend hours crafting something meaningful. One person calls it amazing, you feel alive. Another mocks it, you feel crushed. But ask yourself, did the work itself change, or just the noise around it? That's the danger. We begin shaping our words to please. We dilute our truth to avoid discomfort. We stop being real and start performing. Even praise, when overly craved, becomes a prison. Because the more you chase it, the more you fear losing it. And suddenly, you're not living to be true. You're living to be liked. The Stoic path leads somewhere else. A life where you receive praise with humility, criticism with grace, and remain the same person either way. This doesn't mean you stop learning. It means you stop outsourcing your identity. You take what's useful, let go of the rest, and always come back to the deeper question. Reflection of the day. Would I still choose this action, even if no one praised it? Would I still stand by it, even if someone criticized me for it? When the answer is yes, you've found something powerful. A life anchored in self-respect, not public reaction. Stoic Lesson 6. Your value is self-created, not assigned. Where do you believe your worth comes from? Most people never stop to ask. They assume it comes from titles, followers, money, or how others treat them. They live as if value is something to be granted by a boss, a parent, a stranger, a screen. But the Stoics shattered that illusion. They taught, your value is not inherited, it's not given, it's forged by you. Not in public, not through applause, but in the private discipline of your daily life. It's in the promises you keep when no one would know you broke them. It's in the thoughts you challenge when it would be easier to drift. It's in the self-respect you build brick by brick through habits, courage, and consistency. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And often, what we waste is ourselves. Not because we're incapable, but because we're waiting for the world to validate us before we begin becoming who we already are. But here's the shift. You don't need anyone to tell you your worth. You create it by showing up, doing the work, choosing virtue over ego, clarity over chaos, action over excuses. Think about this. A man who makes his bed, honors his word, treats others with respect, moves with purpose, and reflects daily. That man may not be famous, but he walks into a room differently. He doesn't need to prove anything because he's already earned his own respect. That's real value. Not decorative, not dramatic, but rooted, steady, undeniable. Now contrast that with the person who chases status, who panics at the slightest rejection, who needs constant reassurance to feel enough. That's not confidence, that's dependency dressed up in ambition. Stoic practice of the day. Don't ask, do they see my value? Ask, am I living in a way that I respect myself? Because when you do, you stop begging. You stop performing. You stop proving. You simply become. And that kind of value, no one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. Stoic Lesson 7. True courage is quiet and unshakable. When you hear the word courage, what do you picture? A loud speech? A heroic act in front of a crowd? Someone standing tall, defying the odds? But Stoicism teaches us that true courage doesn't announce itself. It happens in silence, in solitude, in the moments no one sees. It's waking up the morning after heartbreak and choosing to keep your promises. It's standing by your values when no one claps for them. It's speaking the truth even when your voice shakes. You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus himself can overpower my will. Epictetus, that's Stoic courage. Not the absence of fear, but action despite it. Not showy, not loud, but deeply grounded. Because the world can strip you of status, comfort, and even relationships. But if you protect your will, your clarity, your character, then nothing essential is ever taken from you. Real courage is leaving what's familiar because it no longer aligns with who you're becoming. Saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. Choosing growth over comfort again and again until it becomes your nature. These aren't movie scenes. They happen in quiet corners of your day, in the space between what's easy and what's right. And every time you choose the latter, your soul becomes heavier not with pride, but with substance. Real courage doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers, "Try again tomorrow." And that whisper, that's what builds you. It's how the Stoic becomes resilient. Not because life gets easier, but because they get stronger without asking for permission. Today's reflection: where in your life are you waiting to feel brave before you act? And what would happen if you acted before the courage came? Because courage isn't something you wait for. It's something you choose. Quietly, consistently, until no storm can shake who you are. Stoic Lesson 8. Build your inner citadel before the storm comes. Where do you go when life falls apart? When people betray you? When plans collapse? When everything outside you feels unstable? What keeps you standing? The Stoics had a name for it: your inner citadel. It's not made of walls or bricks. It's built from character, from values, from discipline practiced in silence. People try to retreat to the mountains or the sea, but you can retreat into yourself anytime. Marcus Aurelius. That retreat isn't escapism, it's a fortress. A place no chaos can reach. Because it's not outside you, it's within. You don't wait for the storm to build it. You build it now, so when the storm comes, you are not swept away. You become the stillness inside it. How? When you want to explode. By practicing calm when you want to explode. By choosing reflection instead of reaction. By defining your principles so clearly that nothing outside can confuse them. Think of it like training. Every morning you rise early, even when tired brick-laid. Every time you keep your word brick-laid. Every time you resist the pull of impulse and act from intention brick-laid. It's invisible, but when pressure comes, it shows. You won't crumble from rejection. You won't break at betrayal. Because your identity isn't built on people. It's built on who you've become when no one was watching. Your inner citadel is not about becoming numb. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that nothing outside can disturb your peace without your permission. And here's the truth. No one can build it for you. Not a mentor, not a book, not even Stoicism itself. Only you can lay the bricks. In silence, in discomfort, in discipline. Today's reflection. What does your inner citadel look like today? What values is it built on? And are you building it daily or waiting for the storm to remind you why you should have? Because life won't warn you before it shakes. But if your core is steady, you won't just survive it. You'll rise from it. Stoic Lesson 9. Daily reflection is where power begins. In a world that never stops moving, reflection is rebellion. We scroll, react, rush, always reaching for the next task, the next goal, the next distraction. But in that constant motion we forget to look back. The Stoics didn't. They knew. What you don't examine, you repeat. And what you don't understand controls you. That's why daily reflection isn't optional. It's the engine of transformation. Seneca wrote, "Each day I examine my conscience. I review my words, my actions, and reread the whole day. not to feel guilty, but to take responsibility, not to shame himself, but to grow on purpose. Because without self-awareness, discipline becomes punishment, but with it, discipline becomes power. Imagine ending each day with 5 quiet minutes. You don't check your phone. You don't judge yourself. You simply sit and ask, where did I act from strength? Where did I give in to weakness? What patterns keep repeating in my thoughts, reactions, or habits? What did I do today that I'll be proud of tomorrow? These are the questions that shape character, not overnight, but consistently, one honest answer at a time. And that's the key: honesty. Most people lie to the world. Worse, they lie to themselves. But you, if you're on the Stoic path, you must become the mirror you trust most. Not the crowd, not the algorithm, but you. Here's the beauty. The more you reflect, the more aligned you become. Your choices grow clearer. Your reactions grow calmer. Your identity becomes less reactive and more intentional. Practice for tonight. Before you sleep, replay your day. Don't look for perfection, look for truth. Learn something, forgive something, commit to something. Because when you reflect deeply, you sleep differently. Your mind isn't spinning with noise. It's at peace with itself. And that kind of peace? It's not found in the world. It's earned inside. Stoic Lesson 10. Vulnerability is strength when you own it. We're taught to hide what hurts, to wear masks, to hold it together. From childhood, we absorb the lie that showing weakness means being weak. So we bury our fear, doubt, and pain under silence, sarcasm, or fake smiles. But the Stoics saw through that illusion. They didn't believe in suppressing emotion. They believed in understanding it, mastering it. And you can't master what you refuse to face. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." But bravery doesn't mean pretending. It means standing eye to eye with your truth without running. Here's the Stoic shift. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's not collapse. It's clarity. It's having the strength to say, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm trying. It's admitting, that mistake was mine, without self-hate. It's confessing, this fear lives in me, without letting it control you. And in that admission, you reclaim power. Why? Because pretending is exhausting, but honesty is energizing. It frees up the energy you once used to keep up the performance. Think about it. The people who earn your respect most aren't perfect. They're real. They show up flawed but honest, broken but brave, and they don't flinch when truth knocks on the door. That's strength. That's leadership. That's Stoicism in action. Practical practice. Today, name one thing you've been hiding from yourself. Write it down. Face it. Then ask, what would it look like to own this with strength instead of shame? You don't need to broadcast it to the world, but you need to stop hiding it from yourself. Because healing begins at the point of honesty, and real peace begins when you're no longer at war with your own truth. Vulnerability, when owned, becomes invincibility. Not because it makes you untouchable, but because it makes you whole. And wholeness, that's where your real power lives. Stoic Lesson 11. Let pain shape you, not break you. What if your greatest strength was hidden in your deepest pain? Most people run from discomfort. They numb it, deny it, escape it. But the Stoics? They lean into it, because they understood. Pain is not the enemy, avoidance is. Pain is not punishment, it's potential. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your heartbreak isn't just something to survive. It can become the forge of compassion. Your failure doesn't mean you're worthless. It can sharpen your focus. Your rejection isn't the end. It's the beginning of better boundaries. This isn't philosophy for monks. It's daily Stoicism, raw, real, lived. The question isn't, will you suffer? The question is, what will you do with it? Pain invites you to choose. To get bitter or to get better. To stay stuck or to rise smarter. To shut down or to open with wisdom. Every scar can be your shame or your scripture. The meaning is yours to make. Imagine two people. One lets pain define them. The other lets pain refine them. One becomes smaller. The other becomes solid. Strength isn't the absence of wounds. It's the refusal to be owned by them. And here's the hard truth. Pain doesn't care who you are. It comes for everyone. But not everyone learns from it. Stoicism says, don't just endure suffering, alchemize it. Turn it into clarity, direction, fire. Today's practice. Write down one moment that hurt you deeply. Ask yourself, what did it teach me? How has it changed me for the better? What can I do now that I couldn't before? Because if you let it, your pain will become your power. Not in theory, but in how you walk, how you lead, how you live. You don't grow in spite of pain. You grow through it. And on the other side, unshakable strength, unspoken peace, and a self the world can't break because you've already rebuilt it. Stoic Lesson 12. Focus on your path, not their reactions. Whose approval are you still chasing? That question stings, but it matters. Because if you're not careful, your life will slowly turn into a performance. Every decision filtered through the lens of, will they like this? Will they understand me? Will they clap? And little by little, you lose your path. Not in one grand moment, but in 1,000 small compromises. The Stoics warned us, if you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. Why? Because real growth is uncomfortable to watch. It challenges people's assumptions. It threatens who they thought you were. And not everyone will applaud your evolution. Some will misunderstand you. Others will mock your silence. A few might walk away. Let them. You were not born to be understood by everyone. You were born to walk your path clearly, honestly, without apology. Your responsibility is not to make others comfortable with your truth. Your responsibility is to live it. When you chase reactions, you lose direction. When you anchor to praise, you become a puppet. When you bend for acceptance, you betray yourself piece by piece. But when you return to your inner compass and walk in alignment with your values, you unlock something rare: freedom. Freedom to act without waiting for approval. Freedom to be disliked and still sleep in peace. Freedom to say, this is my path. I will walk it even if no one claps. Today's challenge. What action are you postponing because you're afraid of how others will react? Now ask, if no one supported me, would I still want this? Would I still do it? If the answer is yes, then congratulations. You've found a path worth walking, because applause fades. Opinions shift, but a life lived with integrity, that echoes forever. Conclusion. It's true, nobody really cares. But that's not something to mourn. That's your freedom. You don't need applause to live a life worth being proud of. You just need one thing: the courage to stand tall even when no one's watching. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you're walking your own quiet path, I see you. Keep going. You're not alone. Comment below. I choose to walk with discipline no matter who's watching. And if this helped you, hit like and subscribe for more Stoic strength each week.